She's a fashion blogger, model, and entrepreneur.
She's amazing.
The latest tips on fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, and her lifestyle. And now, here's the founder and creator of Not Basic Blonde, Olasha.
Hi, Teri. I'm so honored to have you on my podcast. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing really well, and it's so lovely to be with you and your audience.
Oh, thank you so much. And you having such an amazing background and career. We would love to learn more about you. So would you please tell our listeners about yourself and about your career?
I would love to. Well, I'm here sitting 20 years, almost 20 years later, having a completely separate career than I did in my first tour of duty. I graduated with international finance and I was a risk manager, and my last tour of duty in that world was managing a department in the multifamily division of Freddie Mac, in charge of the risk of their multifamily assets. But with my firstborn, when he was 3 at his 3-well checkup, we were told to expect brain seizures. He had the bone density of an 18-month-old. He was barely walking and talking, and we were really seeing him fall off the cliff. He had life-threatening asthma, failure to thrive. And for several years, we went down the allopathic route, but he kept getting sicker and sicker. And I found an amazing doctor, functionally trained. That word functional wasn't even around back then, but she was a holistic MD. And she was the catalyst to my understanding a comprehensive approach to health. But she wasn't really looking at the food. And she was looking at the fact that he was just adrenally depleted. So I just decided to do further studies. And when I found that the foods that we were feeding him were literally poisoning him, and I shifted the way he ate, we took away peanuts and corn and wheat and citrus and dairy. Within 4 days, he started breathing better, and the allergic shinier started going away. And so I knew I was onto something, and I became this rabid researcher. So he was 5 at the time. And at the age of 10, I actually left my career because I had helped so many people at Freddie, moms that were coming to see me, not to talk about deals, but to talk about what was wrong with their child. So I made the decision to leave that career and go back to school and study all sorts of interesting modalities, functional nutrition, biochemistry, energy medicine, healing touch. So I have a smorgasbord of, if you will, interests and modalities that I have taught myself or have gone to school for, and now almost 20 years later, I have this wonderful, thriving, internationally known practice that is very bio-individual and we believe pioneering.
Very interesting, such a story. And I do believe in holistic approach as well. I think it works well, and it works better sometimes more than just a regular medicine. And sometimes holistic approach can actually find the root of the cause of the problem and cure it.
Absolutely. We see that every day here in our practice. And I have a naturopathic doctor that works alongside me, and we really see very complex health conditions from all over the world, from Lyme to infertility to autoimmunity. I also work with some world-class athletes, and we really say that we seek to maximize the human potential in everyone, whether you're trying to have a baby or you're trying to get an Olympic medal.
And would you please tell us more about your practice? What do you guys have there and what you specialize in?
Absolutely. So we are based in the Metro Washington, D.C. area, and we literally see people from all over the world. Many of our clients fly in, but we also see people internationally. We have a method where we have the Cochrane Method, which is the methodology that I developed, seeks to be matching your genetic blueprint and your current state of health and what caused the genetic expression leading to the symptomology. So we really say we're expert in body, and however the diagnosis may come when people come to our office, because many have been told you're a throwaway. We have many rejects, if you will, from even National Institutes of Health, from Mayo Clinic, from Children's Hospital, that they say, well, there's nothing we can do for you, or we're just going to keep you on this long journey of missing the why. And so we do specialize in Hashimoto's, Lyme disease. Fertility is a big thing for us. because we are seeing many more women having fertility issues. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is something that we also specialize in. And we specialize in any kind of digestive issues with Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. It really is whatever the body imbalance is, we really seek to neutralize it and then restore.
That's amazing. And what is the main issue with all these patients? What are they lacking, or is it just diet, or there's more to it?
Oh, there's more to it. Everything is bio-individual, but there is a function of how our food expresses our genetics. And so we say that genes are our tendency, they're not necessarily our outcome. And food is so definitely linked to the way that our body behaves. And so, for example, I had a woman who had been to the Mayo Clinic several times, a beautiful woman from New York, and her physiology was deformed because she looked like a tree trunk. There was so much psoriasis and this idiopathic, which means that they couldn't figure out why her body was just scaled over, and they kept giving her glutathione IVs, and she was being told to eat all these healthy vegetables. Well, we looked at her genetics and she had a big sulfur sensitivity. So the broccoli and the killer kale, as I call it, and all those healthy foods, garlic and eggs that she was eating were actually contributing to a genetic expression causing this psoriatic type condition that was really very painful and extremely deforming. And so we were able to help her. So it really is food and supplementation. And for example, glutathione, which is touted in the functional medicine world, especially glutathione IVs, as being a huge antioxidant. Well, it's not for everyone. And those that have a sulfur sensitivity, myself included, if we adapt that glutathione, it could actually be very counterproductive to our healing journey. So we really do look to sync up the why behind the individual. In her case, what she had was significant strep and staph that was actually being fed by some of the foods, because oxalates, which are found in almonds and black beans and berries, which are very healthy, were actually contributing to her issues as well. So it's very fascinating how the body has just such an innate ability to heal, but we need to understand and then capture the why, and then put together a very specific protocol so that they can find their healing journey back. And we are feel very honored and humbled to really facilitate journeys where people have been told you're not going to get better.
That's incredible. And what kind of tests do you guys do? Do you do the blood work, or you do special tests? How do you identify their problem?
Well, part of the Cochrane Method is a form of what I call iterative applied kinesiology. So I did not invent applied kinesiology. It is a form of muscle testing, and we have many vials in our office that have the electromagnetic signature, for example, of Candida albicans or arabinose or the MTHFR gene SNP, or we have many gene SNPs that we test. And so we now are finding that we are energy. We're all energy. We're energetic beings in this body that spins at a molecular rate of speed that creates mass. But the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, whom I adore, and he's one of my mentors, he has proven that the organic chemistry by which medicine was taught is only a small piece of it, that energetically, that's where we live. And so these vials carry the frequency of a specific whatever. When we put it in the field of that individual and apply a pressure to their arm, that tells us whether that is in balance or out of balance. And I will tell you, in many cases, because we work contemporaneously with many doctors from across the country that send us their patients, when we share with them to go get the blood work, or we can have it done ourselves, we always prefer to say, if you can do it under your plan and under your insurance, that's much better. That they're corroborative, but we understood it here, and then we get them to what needs to be done. But we also look at hormones through saliva, and we look at organic acid test that looks at the microbiome and neurotransmitters. So there's many tests that we either have the client go out and get through their physician, or we can work collaboratively. So it's a collaborative effort, but the muscle testing, I believe, gets down to a very granular approach. And it's really underpinned in the Cochrane Method. That is a very elegant algorithm that I've created that gets to the if this then. It's a structured approach that really gets us to the why.
Would you please tell us more about your method and how did you invent it? Because it sounds very interesting and very unique.
Thank you. Well, over the almost 20 years that I've been in this practice, I have found that my clients become my biggest teachers. And the more I was learning actually through their own individual cases, I started developing methods because I felt that with the models that existed, even the functional model was insufficient. And I created this methodology over time. And so the Cochrane Method seeks to look at what I call the 4 portals of genetic expression. One is pathogenic. We now know that viruses and bacteria and fungi and parasites can actually express genetics. We also know that environment, such as food or heavy metals or a toxic burden like lead or mercury or gasoline, any toxicity, parabens in our hair products and face products can actually, if you're sensitive to that biochemically, can create a genetic expression. And the third part that can create a genetic expression and therefore symptomology is a life event, a stress event, a trauma. If you've gone through a death, a divorce, a loss, or if there was trauma in your childhood or in your coming of age that has not been repatterned in our system, we know that, and this is the work of Dr. Candace Pert, who was a molecular biologist, that every experience we have is held on our cell membrane, and that can affect our immunology. And then the last thing is, of course, physical impact. If we get hit, it can, and if our pituitary gets dislodged, or if our aorta or vasovagal nerve gets dislodged, it can create a cascading effect into a genetic expression, which then leads to a symptom. And so we look at the dance of all of those 4 to really understand the why in our practice. And so with many people, they can have the exact same symptoms rooted in very different whys. So for example, yesterday I had a gentleman who was a top college athlete, had been, and he was muscle wasting. So he'd lost a significant amount of weight and he was trying to eat protein. And what we were able to discern is he had a reactivation of various viruses that actually were inhibiting him from producing the appropriate enzymes to be able to break down his protein. So eating animal protein was actually hurting him. And now he's going to be vegan for a little bit, but in doing that, he will get better because his body was just not able to assimilate those amino acids. And it's not always the same. For example, diabetes can be a function of protein malabsorption, or it can be a function of the fact that you had strep, and that strep is reactivated as an antibody expressing your genetics. So very different whys behind similar symptomology.
That's wonderful. Such an incredible method you guys have, and you can treat anyone anywhere in the world. Like,
yes,
it's all completely could be done remotely, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because when we treat people remotely, we ask that they provide us a genetic analysis, either 23andMe or Ancestry.com, and then we apply it to an internal algorithm. And then I overlay the Cochrane Method on that to really look at the symphony of the whys, because it's not just ever one thing. We have to look at the dancing of what's the potentiality of the genes with the symptomology, and then the testing that ensues.
Very interesting. And also, I do believe in energy, and I do believe in hormones imbalances, and it could be done totally through holistic medicine. And the thing is that doctors don't even pay attention to that. People have weight gain, weight loss, and some mood changes, or totally like hormonal imbalances symptoms, and they don't treat them correctly. They just prescribe you medicine. But only clinics that are like holistic clinics or like yours, that's where the only place you can actually do the hormone testing and actually find the root of the cause. Because I suffered myself with some of the issues and I didn't get an answer, and I know so many of my friends have the same, especially women with hormone imbalances. And no one can actually cure it till you go to a holistic place, to
Absolutely.
functional medicine place.
Yeah, so we treat so many women that have hormonal imbalances, that are infertile, that have Hashimoto's, that have thyroid issues, that have depression, and a lot of depression is rooted in estrogen dominance. And why is estrogen being dominant? Well, because potentially it could be because you have a candida infection. That's a fungal infection that will effectively increase your estrogen. So it's not about giving you hormones. It's about, let's fix the candida that's making that estrogen recycle and increase, and also then dislodging the serotonin that's making you depressed. So let's not give you an antidepressant or a hormone where your body can't metabolize it because your liver's backed up because it was actually candida. Let's treat the candida. So a lot of doctors miss it. And the gut and the hormone connection is huge, because we make a lot of our hormones in our gut, and then it's recycled through the liver, and then it's shuttled appropriately. But when it's not, more hormones aren't always the case. And actually, more hormones in many cases can cause more trouble for women, because then there's a fat malabsorption issue, and the liver gets backed up, and women get more depressed, they gain more weight. And what the doctors do in many cases, and I'm not an anti-doctor, I work with some incredible doctors, but then they say, well, let's increase your thyroid medication some more. And let's increase it again. Let's increase your antidepressant. And that's not the why that created the imbalance in the first place.
I totally agree with you, and especially anxiety caused by hormone imbalances too. It's like you're shaking, you don't know why you're shaking, but it's actually your hormones are going crazy in your body and you don't even know. But when you go to a doctor, they prescribe you antidepressants or just anxiety medicine, which causes even more problems.
Absolutely. They say, the studies show that only 1 in 10 are benefited by psychotropics. That means 9 out of 10 of us that are on that type of path are being given the wrong treatment to understand the why, to fix it. And so in many cases, we're numbed, to manage the anti-anxiety. And I'm not saying in acute cases, sometimes we do have to go that route, but there's always a reason, the underlying reason why. And anxiety, many cases for anxiety, can be a function of an oversecretion of epinephrine, which is adrenaline. And that adrenaline could be a function of insulin imbalance. When we are dysglycemic, meaning that our blood sugar is all over the place, it can cause anxiety. And so it's not about giving you an antidepressant. Let's regulate that insulin. And why is that insulin out of balance? Well, maybe you have a underlying strep, or maybe there's a virus that's reactivated. And so we have to look at the virus to help manage that insulin response, not giving you an antidepressant. We work with a lot of mental health here as well. We work with a lot of anxiety, OCD, PANDAS, which is pediatric autoimmune psychiatric disorder, which is really attacking our millennials, where you become antisocial, suicidal, homicidal. I work with some of these kids, they're under 15, and they have attempted all of these things, and it's not their fault. It's just that the biochemistry has shifted because there's a pathogenic load. There's an invader in their body that's shifting their biochemistry, causing them to behave in a certain way, and we get them better.
Yeah, it's crazy what's going on, and no one really treated in the best way other than medicine. But it's like, I've had a story where I was on the birth control for many years, and then I switched to, I didn't switch, they just switched me to generic one because they did not have the other one anymore. And that one started giving me side effects like panic attacks and anxiety. I didn't know what to do. It was so crazy. But then when I stopped it and I went off of it, it went better.
And it's really important that we talk about that, because many women we're dismissed, saying, well, why are you anxious? Or you're just anxious, here, take this drug. They don't look at the underlying why. Or if we're gaining weight, but we're actually trying to be very faithful to a plan that we're eating, we're not believed. And so we say in our practice, you are your highest authority, and we're going to believe what you're saying, and we're going to understand why your body is responding this way, right? And shifting to a generic birth control, maybe they're using a different form of estradiol. And if they're moving from a different form of like E1 to E2, it's getting technical, but you can start recycling that estrogen, which can make you cray-cray. Estrogen will dislodge other neurotransmitters that make us calm. It literally competes for those neurotransmitters. It kicks them out and it puts himself on the cell wall. And that's why women in menopause are many times get very depressed when their hormones start shifting, or in puberty, right? So in pre-period, when women are depressed or premenstrual, that's because their estrogen isn't being managed and they're getting very moody, weepy, histrionic, and drugging us is not the answer. It's really finding out, why is that happening? Is there a recirculation of liver enzymes that aren't working properly? Is there a fat malabsorption? Do you have a bug in your system that's tripping that mechanism that makes you rise that estrogen? Or do you have too low progesterone and do you need a little support there? But not hormonally, do it with herbs. I
see. And also myths about healthy foods like kale and broccoli. You just told me that it could actually harm someone. So if you don't know your body, you can just eat healthy. I mean, assuming, like everyone says, just eat more veggies and just eat kale and spinach and you will be healthy. But it's actually depending on everyone's body.
Absolutely. We ask the question, are you eating the right foods? They're the right foods, but they're wrong for you. And so back to our approach was the genetic blueprinting, is if you have certain genetic predispositions and you have a bug that tripped those genes, or an event, a stress event, or a toxic event to your body, then those foods are no longer healthy for you. And I call it killer kale because kale is both an oxalate and a sulfur. And it's one of the most absorbing plants that if there's any pesticides or herbicides, it's going to take on those chemicals. It's like a little sponge, a little dirty sponge. And so I deemed kale killer kale. And it's such a fashion statement to have a kale smoothie or a kale salad. But I would offer that could be poison on your plate. Maybe it's right for you, but it could be. And for me, I have those genes and kale does not like me. If I have a kale smoothie in the morning, I'm in trouble. I'm going to feel like I can't think and my joints are going to hurt and I'm going to feel moody, and that's not me. So this is another thing too, is that people tend to judge themselves by the way that we're feeling or we're thinking, but it's not about us. It's a biochemical shift in our body that's created that imbalance to separate, the judgment about ourselves from the way our body is feeling, because there's a lot of shame in it. And I'm here to pull all that out and empower my clients and my listeners to say, look, there's nothing that you did. You're not a bad person, but your body is being hijacked right now. Let's figure out how to land that plane and land it safely.
So true. I don't know, like now I feel weird about green juice because it's all kale, celery, and all this after this conversation.
Well, I had a green juice this morning, but I drink my green juice to my genetic blueprint. So I can't do kale, I can't do celery, I can't do broccoli, but I do cilantro and cucumber. Those really work for me. And then I add my own supplements that I've created, and I add some vitamin C, and that's how I start my morning before I work out. And my body loves that. But if I were to make a spinach and kale smoothie, I would be flat out and I would be able to be talking to you right now.
And you also created Wildatarian Diet. So would you please tell us more? It's very interesting. Sounds very interesting.
Thank you. Well, the Wildatarian Diet is eating to your genetic blueprint and your current state of health. So we know that, as we've been talking about, there's no one healthy food for everyone. And this diet was born from an end-stage cancer client that had come to see me almost a decade ago. And he was given his last rites. He had a very rare form of cancer, and 2 rounds of chemotherapy put him into congestive heart and kidney failure. And his wife was a CNN producer at the time, and somehow they found out about my practice. And as he was dying, they decided, well, what can we lose? Let's try food. And what we were able to discern, I had a researcher on my staff at that time who used to work at the National Institutes of Health and was a genetics expert. And so what I asked her to do was to research this very rare form of cancer that was called amyloidosis. And what we found was fascinating. We found that these truncated protein structures were causing the buildup of cancer cells in Glenn. He's very public about his work with me. He's actually in my book. And what we were able to discern was that the protein he was eating, that when you have chemotherapy, they say be protein rich after your chemo because it destroys the nature's proteins, was actually feeding a situation that was making his cancer worse. So what we found was through studies that even chicken, which I now call the dirty bird, chicken, beef, pork, and turkey, were actually feeding his problem. And so when we put him on a diet that matched his genetic blueprint to what was happening in his body, within 3 months, the markers for cancers had stabilized. Then I was able to work with his oncologist to have him then really continue the chemo to help support his health. And they said, you're not going to make it past a year. You're not going to make it past 18 months. Well, he is living proof. He's almost 10 years out and he's doing great. And so I learned that domesticated animals have these indigestible proteins. And if you eat wild and live as nature intended, so eating the animals that are wild caught, that are sustainably raised, they're not going to have this burden, which can be a poison to many of us. And so the word Wildatarian was born from eating to that way, to be wild and eating foods that are sustainably raised, that match your genetic blueprint, that have a low sulfur, oxalate, and amyloid burden, because we know based on the clinical outcomes in our practice that is really affecting our state of health. And so we have many wild types, and you can take a quiz. Our website's being reconstructed, so give us a little bit of time on that quiz to be available, but we'll let your viewing audience know that you can take a test and find out what kind of wild type you are, and then just eat to that. And we have found that it has been just incredibly effective, even for people that don't come and see our practice. I happened to be at a conference pre-COVID, and a woman, I was standing in line in a bathroom, and she ran up to me. She's like, oh my gosh, I read your book, and that 20-year rash that nobody could fix is gone. I couldn't tolerate sulfur, the broccoli and the kale that we talked about. So it's really powerful. It's a really powerful book. And it's a book of really shifting the mindset of diet from being deprivation based and, oh my gosh, I have to go on a diet, and when is it going to be over, and when can I have my jelly donut, to something that really, how do we dance with food? I love food. My food is my canvas and my art form in the kitchen. And I don't feel deprived at all. For Thanksgiving, we made wild duck, which was amazing. And, harvest root vegetables that my body can eat. And so we have an incredible plate of options for each type of Wildatarian that really helps you be your best self. And kids are even getting on this bandwagon. I work with pediatric practice, and they feel so empowered and so different in their body that they gravitate naturally towards these foods, and they're so well informed. So it's a diet for everyone and for you alone, because it matches you to your genetic tendencies.
Wow, such a magical story you told about curing cancer and living 10 years after and actually cured it completely, correct?
Yes, in concert with his he was able to restart his chemo, but absolutely. And they told him, you're not gonna live. And even when he got better, they're like, it's not gonna stay. It will come back because you were so sick. And he's great. He sent me a video the other day. He was doing some mountain biking up in some really rough terrain, just to show how robust he is. He was 44 when he was diagnosed, so he's now almost 55, and he's aging in reverse. Part of our work as well is longevity. I'm considered a longevity expert, and I sit on a medical advisory team with some of our top doctors, and my methods are being incorporated into their world as well.
That's wonderful. And also you created some amazing supplements. They're different from the supplements on the market, so we would love to learn more about each one. And you also have the Wild-Lytes and others. So please tell us more.
Yeah, so I'm always curious, right? So I'm always thinking, if there's something that can be done better, why don't we do it better? And what I found in the marketplace, and even in the holistic marketplace, was that the supplements had some ingredients in there that potentially could trip a genetic that was undoing what you needed to do. Or maybe they have mushrooms in there, and if you have candida, that's going to be a problem. Or maybe it has turmeric in there, which is really popular. And if you have a genetic tendency, turmeric can actually undo your liver. It can really retoxify you. And so I talked to certain supplement companies to say, look, I can help you build some blends. And they're like, well, no, we're not interested. And so then I went to one of the top supplement makers, Biotics Research, and I said, would you be willing to formulate on my behalf? Because I created, and we call it gene smart nutrition. I created supplements with blends that are gene smart, that aren't going to trip those major genetic predispositions that we have, because we fall into buckets of genetic predispositions, or that have certain ingredients that are going to potentially make you anxious or give you bloating or make you less immune. And so I started with my immune mover, which is a botanical blend, and we say it's our everyone's new everyday, and we take it every day. And I've traveled in over 60 planes over these last 2 years, and knock on wood, everything has been fine. I've been very healthy. My Wild-Lytes is really fun, and that falls under the Wildatarian umbrella. I made that for one of my staff members who happened to be a Division I athlete, but no electrolyte in the marketplace, was able to support her because she had certain food sensitivities. So that it's an electrolyte powder, but it also helps with mental clarity. It helps with sleep. It helps with uric acid. It helps with nitric oxide, which is so important for circulation. So I work with, again, many athletes, some that are public with me, some are not, and many are world class, but every one of my athletes takes that. I work with people in the music industry. They love it. I have a client who's actually going on a world tour. He's a very well-known artist, and he just bought several cases of Wild-Lytes. So it's just amazing to help us keep not only hydrated, but keep our mental health well. I'm an athlete. I start every day with my Wild-Lytes and end my day with my Wild-Lytes. And it's even great if you're going to have some, especially during the holidays, if you're going to have some alcoholic libations, it's great as a chaser.
Yeah, usually like Pedialyte or other ones like Liquid IV, those are usually commonly used, but yours are actually for those who have food sensitivity. That's clever.
Absolutely. And this is really made with just 3 simple ingredients: cilantro, watermelon, and sea salt. There's nothing in there that is not natural. A lot of these electrolyte formulas have sulfates and sulfites and these chemicals. And again, my athlete, which was one of my staff members, once we started that, it just completely shifted her outcome. And she had been a retired athlete, but still was very much into the physical fitness world in her personal life. And so we love that. And then one of my favorites is Stress Mover. I believe it's one of the best stress formulas in the marketplace. Again, why? Because the formulation is so special in that we also look at the histamine response as a reason why we can get anxious. And so the formulation is very, very specific. It has certain ingredients in there that help calm the body. It helps to manage the histamine response. It helps create bile synthesis to break down fats so we can absorb our neurotransmitters, because our neurotransmitters, which are our serotonin and our dopamine, that which we are given antidepressants and anti-anxiety for, are actually neurohormones that are fat soluble, and they need to cross the blood-brain barrier. So this has been an amazing supplement. Some of my clients have deemed it the God pill because it's so good, and it's non drowsy. It's non-addictive. It's not a pharmacotropic, but the symphony of these supplement individual ingredients that I put together have been just roundly touted. I take it every day, and most of my staff members do as well, especially in this environment where we're dealing with this unprecedented stress. I say it locks and loads you because it makes you extremely calm, but very centered and present. And also what's really interesting, and this is just an anecdotal evidence, but I wear the Aura ring, and taking it at night, my heart rate variability doubles. So I know that I'm getting much better REM sleep and in my rest and restore mode than when I don't take it.
Does it have like ashwagandha root or valerian root or something like that?
It's really interesting. So it has phosphatidylserine from sunflower lecithin, which helps calm the axis of the epinephrine. So epinephrine, that thing that makes you anxious, this is really restorative to calm it down. It also has glycine, and glycine helps to regulate serotonin. And then it also has, that's an amino acid, it has taurine, another amino acid that really helps with dopamine. It's a precursor to dopamine. It's been shown to really calm the nervous system as an antihistamine. Manganese, I think, is its secret weapon, though, because that's a very little used mineral that actually calms the histamine response. And so that combination, we use rhodiola instead of ashwagandha. So rhodiola is an adrenal adaptogen, so it helps modulate those adrenals. Ashwagandha in some individuals can make you hyperactive. So this one, the combination, I'm really proud of, because it's this unique formulation, and it's helped so many. It's really helped so many.
That's amazing. I love all the ingredients it has, and also glycine is highly used in Ukraine and Russia, everywhere. But why it's not that used in US? I don't hear about it much at all.
Yeah, they don't understand the uses of glycine. It's a secret weapon because it also helps produce hydrochloric acid that helps you digest your protein. It's a precursor to trimethylglycine, which is really calmative to the entire system, especially the gut. And it really, right now, we're not digesting our protein well because glyphosate, which is the Roundup that's sprayed on our crops, interrupts that mechanism. So we really all are benefited by it. And I have children as young as 2 taking it, but we're taking it at very, very small doses, but it's really helped with their rashing on their face because they had a high histamine response. So we say, again, it's a supplement for everyone. Very few people cannot tolerate it. And we're just getting really rave reviews on it. So we're very proud of that supplement.
That's incredible. What other supplements do you have? And also, I just wanted to add, with electrolytes, usually what I don't like about them, that you have that salt and then your body has like that salt retention. So you feel, you gain weight because it's a water weight from taking so much salt, and some of the electrolytes give you that feeling. That's why I love it to take it. Especially when you go on vacation, or like you mentioned, doing chaser for holidays and something like that. But I love that yours does not have those ingredients, and they actually don't make you feel like that.
No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, because of the cilantro is very high in potassium, and so is watermelon. And so we need potassium and sodium to work together so they can go inside. So the sodium can actually go inside the cells. So the salt can go inside the cells. I'm actually drinking some Wild-Lytes now. It's very diluted because I've already had 2 shots of it this morning, but I drink it for most of the day. And we have one of my staff members, she literally does Wild-Lyte shots every hour because she loves it so much. So very benign. Unless you have an outward allergy to cilantro or watermelon, this is like a no harm, and it will do a lot of good.
Love it. What are the proactive ways to support our immune system?
Well, right now, our world is so unstable, and we keep getting new news every day that brings us out of balance. So the biggest way to support our immune system, I believe, is our attitude, because we know that when we are scared or worried or afraid resentful, angry, negative feelings can lower our immune system by half for up to 5 hours. So if we're here in immune system and we have a thought, our immune system can go here. So really understanding and catching ourselves when we're in a thought pattern that is negative. And I have something called stop, drop, and roll that I've created, sort of like the putting out the fire, like the firefighters do, but we're always tuning in. So I teach my clients to always tune into their thinking. And if their thinking is negative, well, let's stop that thinking. First of all, well, let's interrupt that pattern. I'm going to interrupt this broadcast to myself. And then let's drop that, because it's energy. So when every thought we have is an energetic wave. And so when we stop it, we have to drop it and move that energy through. So that means through movement. That can be through dancing, through jumping, through any kind of, you can even express it like yelling, drumming, but you can do it in real time, and it doesn't take very long. And then you can actually roll into another thought that's happier. So, I always ask my clients to keep things in their kind of their little basket of joy, pull out an experience that they remember that they can replace that other thought pattern with. So that it starts with that. If the thought creates the thing. And again, back to the work of Bruce Lipton, which he wrote an amazing book called The Biology of Belief. He has proven over and over again that our thoughts create our environment for cellular function and immune function. The second thing is just from a supplemental perspective. Zinc is super important right now. I take zinc carnosine every day. Not all zinc forms are created equal. Carnosine is really important because it also helps with digestive healing. I take a vitamin C every day. Vitamin C is super important for adrenal function. It's really important as an antioxidant. It's really important to break down any biofilm from a pathogenic load. Vitamin D is super important because that helps to modulate insulin. It helps immune system function. My immune mover and stress mover, because again, stress is going to help lower that immune system. Immune mover is just a broad spectrum immune supporter that I can't live without it. I was just in Florida last week, and when I travel, which I travel a lot, I pop that more than once a day. You know, when I'm feeling a sore throat, I keep it in my purse and I immediately start taking it, and it's incredibly effective. And then movement and eating the right foods for our genetic blueprinting, right? So if we're eating sugar, and we know sugar is going to lower our immune system, we've got to make sure that our gut is healthy and strong. So we've got to make sure that our microbiome is really intact. And so eating the right foods. And sometimes if we're eating a lot of fermented foods, when we've have a lot of candida or bloating, that's going to make it worse. So kombucha may not be good for you. Kefir may not be good for you. Or yogurt may not be good for you because they're high histamine. So really looking at the supplements that are broad spectrum good that most anyone can take, thinking about our thoughts and really rolling into a beautiful, better, higher vibration experience that we can have in our minds, and then keeping that food in line with our optimal environment for our genetics. I think those are really, that's really the crux of my practice is really all those elements to hold immunology at its highest level.
All of these are great. And also I do believe in gut health is everything, and everything comes from your gut, even like so many health issues. And it's been just the past few years, I know all the researchers, all the experts, they've been talking about this a lot, and I'm glad you mentioned it as well. So
very, very important, because we know that almost 70% of our immune system starts in our GI tract. So we've got to get that figured out. If not, we're in trouble.
100%. What inspired you to write it, your bestseller?
Yeah, so it was really, the inspiration was through that patient zero, as I call him. But then what was really interesting is, as I was writing the book, I got very ill. A stress event about 4 years ago really caused a reactivation of multiple viruses inside my body. And I wasn't as skilled as I am now in understanding the power of stress and how deleterious it can be. And I went to various infectious disease doctors, and they said I was very ill and I would be very ill for a very long time, but they got the diagnosis wrong. And what I realized was that stress had reacted 7 viruses in me. And so the book was rewritten as I came out of my journey of those viruses and understanding how my viruses were really tripping all of my genes and making me incredibly ill with brain issues, liver issues, lung issues, neurological issues. I had very, very elevated liver enzymes, and I was sick for several months. But within weeks of figuring out what was wrong with me, I was back. And it was such a beautiful, not coincidence, because I don't believe things happen coincidentally, but such a beautiful dance that I needed to get sick so I could then rewrite the book and make it, our lighting is shifting here, rewrite the book to make it such that we were really focusing on the re-expression of viral loads and how stress can be such a catalyst and fire starter for this incredible deleterious outcome. And that really was, I believe, I call it a God wink when this whole thing came to be, where I was able to bring myself back into incredibly robust health through my own experience. And it led me to rewrite the book.
I'm so glad you written such an incredible book, and you were able to heal from all these issues you had.
Thank you. No, it's really been a beautiful journey. And now thousands and thousands have been the beneficiary of it.
And going back about your practice, how long does it take the process from the beginning to the end where someone would like to send their results and get diagnosed and all that?
Well, you have to be very patient with us. We have quite a waiting list. So generally to see me, I'm taking people, I have about a 3 or 4 month waiting list. My naturopathic doctor, we can get in to see her much sooner. She's amazing. She's board certified as a naturopath. She's also a certified nutrition specialist. She's got a master's in physiology, and she's trained. She's the only naturopath in the country trained under the Cochrane Method. So it's quite good. We welcome new people because we're here to show that the whole aspect of empowering yourself to be healthy long-term, to have that longevity, and to not let anyone tell us that we're going to stay broken. If I would have made the decision to listen to the doctors for my son 20 some years ago, he would be a very different man today. But I decided I was going to not be that mother that said, okay, well, we're going to have to feed him full of steroids and more antibiotics and have this little boy become broken and stay broken. So to your listeners, I really say, it's never too young to take control of our bodies. I have 7-year-olds that are so well versed in their little bodies. They come in here and they're like, Miss Teri, I told my teacher that I can't have sulfur and I can't have peanuts and I can't have mold. So they know I can't eat that. So, they're very empowered and they're not scared. They're not scared of food, and then they're much more of a broader palate, and they have a longevity trajectory. So I've worked with many of these children who they were infants when I started with them, and now they're going off to college. So it's really quite beautiful.
Amazing. And where can our listeners find you? Where is your practice located, and where they can purchase supplements? So,
of course. So we're again in the Metro Washington, D.C. area, and my website is tericochrane.com, and you can purchase my supplements there. And if you're inquiring about a visit to us, you can also inquire through there. My book is sold on Amazon, so you can get my Wildatarian Diet, Living as Nature Intended, on Amazon.com. We're also always providing information. We feel that information is empowering and it's freeing. So we have various modes of social media. We do an Ask the Expert series every other week on my Instagram. So you can just Google Teri Cochrane or Wildatarian. You'll find us on the web.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Teri. It was my pleasure. Thank you for being my guest.
Oh, thank you. My great pleasure.